lot of Reynor believers. A lot of Reynor believers. I think 2 weeks ago it was like 54% Reynor, 46% MaxPax. Everybody is very impressed by that Reynor performance from just now, but it's not gonna look the same, guys. A series against MaxPax is not gonna look the same against Cristiano, as Cristiano obviously is an amazing Protoss, but there is only one. MaxPax has shown me some of the best Protoss things that I have ever seen in 14 years of StarCraft 2. And I genuinely mean that, and that includes all the top tier Korean Protosses that we have witnessed over the years. I think it's gonna be a banger. Are you back, Bully?
I'm here.
What are your thoughts?
It's hard to say, obviously, because I feel like this is a very similar to the Clem MaxPax matchup. You know, I could see this going basically any of the possible scores from a 3-0 to both players to for either player to anything in between. But it does sort of feel like the last week I have, been watching a lot of Reynor play in the weeklies in WTL. Definitely, it does feel like there's been a little bit of a breakthrough in this matchup in particular. I know he's been malding about it. I'm used to seeing him come into his own Discord and say, "What is my win condition against Protoss?" It's ridiculous after he has just won a series against Protoss. Yeah, I think I would probably favor Reynor today as well, to be honest. But that being said, I don't want that in any way to sound like I'm discounting this player in the top left, the red Protoss player, the Danish Crown Prince, and by most accounts, the best Protoss in the world, MaxPax.
Sending out a probe very, very early, delaying Reynor from taking his natural. On the bottom left side, the reigning, defending, back-to-back champ, trying to win 3 weeklies in a row for only the 2nd time in his career. I think his opponent has done it probably like 5 or 6 times. This would only be the 2nd time in 239 weeks that Reynor wins 3 weeklies in a row if he wins tonight. The last time he did it, number 11, 12, and 13. Over 226 weeks ago. The Italian stallion, Reynor. Now, I think the first map is actually a very, very telling one for this Grand Finals, because I think MaxPax really likes this map. Reynor has been very vocal in public, so I'm not sharing any secrets here of what Reynor has told me. I would obviously never do that. But Reynor has been very, very vocal about the fact that he does not like this map in PvZ in particular, but I don't think he likes it, period. So if Reynor does somehow win the first game, yeah, then I understand that we're betting the channel house points on Reynor. I feel that the first game should go to Max, but let's see.
Yeah, this is. I think this is a map where MaxPax feels confident because I think if you look at the way that he plays every matchup, in particular, people talk about this in PvP. I think he's very good at the sort of flowchart decision making that happens in unusual circumstances, in game states that maybe not everyone is used to seeing. And this map just has a tendency to produce a lot of those because of the mineral walls, because of the highly variable ways in which players can expand on this map. And I think he has a great deal of confidence in navigating those sort of altered situations that deviate a little bit from what is standard. And I think that's evidenced by the fact that he's, doing things here like going for the hatch block, something which not every Protoss player feels is worth it, feels confident attempting.
I always get
doing goofy things like this, the Adept on the high ground.
Yeah, there is a little spot here on the high ground, guys, where an Adept can actually still attack the drones. Obviously, that's very difficult to defend if you're Reynor, but Reynor does know about it. That's why he keeps the Overlord here. First, big shout out to Athena for gifting us 5 subbies. There's 2 more things that I want to say. First, I'm actually getting goosebumps when I see that 2 million channel points have already been wagered, and the prediction is still open for 5 more minutes. I love it. I love it when the community cares, as the first Adept is very low on HP and is going to get picked off. The second thing is, one reason why Reynor and some other pro gamers really dislike Amphion is that on this map, apparently, according to pro gamers, and obviously if they all say it, it must be true, you are more poor than on every other map. Because the mineral patches are just a little bit further away than they are supposed to be, which gives you slightly less money than what you're used to. 3.5, 4.5 minutes into a game. And Reynor apparently cannot deal with this. It drives him insane, and he often feels that he makes more mistakes because he just has a few less minerals than he's supposed to have. Have you ever noticed this, Bully?
I do not play on this map very often. I typically have it vetoed because it's quite bad for Protoss in PvT and slightly unfavored in PvZ. For players of my level, not to make any comments about what it's like for the 7Ks out there, but I have definitely noticed that, and it's something that was brought up actually very early on. I talked to quite a few map makers pretty regularly, and when this map pool was announced, this is something that they had brought up actually as a potential problem that was apparently not addressed. So this has been there have been rumblings about this for quite some time.
Already a bit of a difference, right, between MaxPax and Cristiano, as MaxPax has already found 3 workers, almost gets the 4th. A little bit of damage, obviously. Reynor did have excellent queen movement at his natural, that is normally supposed to be his 3rd base, so there was no opening there, but the Oracle in the main base did show up in time, and did get a couple of drones, and even a couple of drones at this level is going to make a bit of a difference. Say overall, MaxPax should be happy with this start. Sure, he lost an adept, but he got a couple workers. Yeah, and against a very, very sharp Reynor, against a Reynor that's in A tier shape, MaxPax knows he's never going to kill 7 or 10 drones early. It's just not going to happen. So these are the starts that you have to take. Keep your oracles alive, find a bit of damage, force a couple of drones to morph into a spore, as he activates Pulsar Beam here, but one oracle is very, very low in energy.
He doesn't have the energy for this. Yeah, this is a move that I think actually is quite good if you have 2 or 3 oracles that have a decent amount of energy. But I guess this is the play here. He draws the queens away to try to save the 4th, and that allows him to get 4 drones here while taking a little bit of damage on the oracle. So all in all, a good trade. You're mostly trading energy and a tiny bit of oracle HP for that. So
that's funny, right? Because we look at 2 oracles where one of them has little energy, and you're like, hey, isn't that a mistake? But I think MaxPax just knows that it's very likely that the queens of Reynor will move over, and because of that, he finds a tiny opening to gun down a few more drones. And I think at this point, Reynor, his molding session over Amphion's ZVP is just continuing. Because it may not seem like that big of a deal yet, but when you play against MaxPax and you lose 7 drones, it is going to be bloody difficult, as the Brits would say, to still win this game. As MaxPax is now already here on the edge of creep, and he's also, by the way, dropping a mega quick 2nd Stargate and a fleet beacon. This surprised me a little, because I almost felt that this start was good enough for MaxPax to double down on Stalker aggression or just robos, but apparently MaxPax thinks the way to victory here is maybe with some very quick carriers.
Yeah, that's interesting. Typically, this is a move that you would see if you maybe felt like you did not get the start that you wanted, and you're hoping that your opponent will leave you alone long enough to kind of let you hit that critical mass that you need for sort of that mixed Skytoss army. But perhaps that's the thought process here for Max, is that he doesn't think that Reynor will anticipate him going for this sort of fast fleet beacon because the start has been relatively successful for him. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Obviously, the nightmare here is that Reynor sees this coming and adapts appropriately, typically which involves just putting pressure on the Protoss and trying to punish them for the lack of tempo that they have in their ground army and prevent that critical mass of carriers from coming online. And certainly if MaxPax is able to get a few carriers and a 4th base here, that would be scary. But it looks like Reynor is trying to prevent that from happening entirely, as a +1 Ling Bane attack at the front does look to be preparing itself.
This could be big, because MaxPax's oracles are all the way on the other side of the map, and if we take a look at his natural, that is just a single adept. Sentry gets warped in, Stalker's trying to buy some time, Force Field is somewhat quick. Maybe with battery overcharge he doesn't lose a lot here, and that is exactly the play, but at the same time Reynor is circling, so going to try to get on top of the triangle, but a 2nd cannon has finished up. I think if MaxPax loses less than 15 workers here, he's totally okay. So far he hasn't quite lost those 15 workers yet, but we are starting to get closer and closer to it. It's a lot of lost mining time. It is 14, 15, 16 workers in the end, and we are still not done. Reynor's going to be happy with that. Make it 20. Successful attack by Reynor, but obviously that was a lot of Zerglings. Reynor did put a lot of resources in those Banelings as well. Like, it's good, but that doesn't help us defeat these very quick carriers.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's the kind of move that becomes good in maybe 2 or 3 minutes, provided that we're able to defend against this attack here. It does make us a little bit vulnerable to this follow-up, so if Reynor's able to deflect this attack, we're cooking, but the fact that we are trying to break through these rocks on the other side of the map, I think indicates that we know that we aren't really in a position to be able to fight this Stalker carrier army right now.
And MaxPax this time does see it, so he has the oracles at home. He's going to activate Tulsa, being one of the carriers, and has taken a bit of damage. I do love that Reynor has all the queens here and double spore. Because 2 carriers, they will run out of interceptors rather quickly. Supplies getting closer, man. These two, it's such a joy to watch them. MaxPax and Reynor, really in this day and age when it comes to PvZ, it's just incredibly fun, incredibly entertaining. So hard to call where it's going to go. Reynor found some good damage, but he is nowhere near yet where he wants to be. Economically, the game looks good. Army-wise, it doesn't look too hot yet.
Yeah, I think we're relatively happy with how this has gone so far, defending against these stalkers. We haven't lost anything too critical here. If he hasn't already, I would like to see him maybe rebuild the infestation pit somewhere here.
He still has one.
Looks like he has. He's got just the one that's at the front, but that did just die. I suppose if we already have the hive, it doesn't matter too much. But yeah, it's very awkward to fight through this sort of like small artificial choke that is created by mining out just a few of these mineral patches. So Reynor obviously is not super happy with the exchanges that are happening
oracles. Here. MaxPax needs to pay attention. You don't want to lose these oracles for nothing. Loses one, loses second. Okay, does not lose the second. As MaxPax clearly is very focused on this fight, and this is not a bad fight. These force fields are awesome, but it is important. He's going to answer for all these Hydras. A few Zealots are not going to save you here. MaxPax is going to need a little more than just a couple Zealots. Battery overcharge is not going to do much for you either there. I don't know if he had it available or not. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Max needs a few more units.
Yeah, these lings get in, and that forces, I think, these stalkers to have to be paid attention to a little bit more. But the charged out warpman does eventually push that army away. A few lings taking out some probes at the mixed base at the 9 o'clock position. And each of these defenses looks almost okay, I think, here for MaxPax, but we're just losing a little bit too much on the edges of this game, I think, for Max to be very happy with it. The big thing you want to do as the Skytoss player is preserve your economy so that you can afford to kind of just constantly be producing carriers, constantly be producing High Templar. And when you're losing 20 workers here, 10 workers here, losing some of your army in these little skirmishes, you can't really hit that sort of unstoppable army that you're trying to get to. And now that Vipers are coming out, I think if Reynor does control this army effectively, he does have a good chance of taking out these carriers.
There's a lot of Queens and a lot of Hydras coming. I understand the idea of trying to get all your interceptors out, but the carriers only have +1. So you're really not going to have a crazy good fight here. Reynor goes for another big Zorkling attack. This one doesn't really find anything. Fun little move there by Max, but he doesn't quite get what he wants. Good news though is that he's not a Protoss without a Templar Archives. He actually has a Templar Archives. He's got Storm. So now it all comes down to dropping a good Revelation. The carrier is going to keep Reynor occupied for a little while. Reynor is rich. He's got a Spire, but obviously does not have any upgrades yet. And we all know how important these upgrades are. No shield battery at this 4th base. It's really painful. And MaxPax now, I think, officially just bleeding out a few too many workers. 49 workers. Now that's not what you're looking for.
No, absolutely not. I mean, a 50 probe economy at this stage in the game is really nothing to write home about. And when you're trying to do things like consistently warp in High Templar to keep the storm count high, to continue producing carriers, it's really difficult. I mean, ideally, you would like to have the money to be constantly sending larger Zealot run-bys through, and that's just not the position Max is in.
Solid feedback though on that first Viper that was leading the charge. Can we land a storm here? No, we cannot. The floodgate's still open. Just too many links. MaxPax forced the recall as he knows he cannot afford to lose any more workers. A couple of Zerglings are going to try to be annoying in the main, and that means a few workers will fall. At the same time though, drones are dying. It's just 3 Zealots. But these 3 Zealots are putting a bit of a number on the economy of Reynor, who may still be maxed out. But if you look at the army supply, which I do think is incredibly important now, 96 against 116, but +2 carriers about to show up against 0-0 Corruptus. I absolutely don't hate this yet for MaxPax, but MaxPax does A, need to finally take care of his natural, and B, needs to stop losing workers, because we do need a tiny bit of a mineral bank if we want to battle with carriers.
Yeah, the mineral bank is important, and I think the biggest thing here is that Max is just having to make decisions about what he values the most here. You can't afford to sort of do all of the things that you would wish you could at this stage in the game. Oh, if you lose these oracles, that's extremely painful. Yeah, this is not good because you're counting on oracles to help do things like provide you vision so that you know when you have to be watching for Vipers to come in so that you can get those feedbacks. Obviously, the range of feedback is larger than that of Abduct from Vipers, but you really need vision and advanced notice to reliably hit those. If you're waiting until the Viper is in vision for the first time, sometimes you're just not going to be fast enough. So not having revelations to reliably keep an eye on that Corruptor Viper cloud is really painful for the Protoss.
I love the 4 Zerglings that Reynor has now spread on the top right side to give him a bit of a heads up if MaxPax goes for another recall. As the Stalkers blink forward, there may not be an Oracle here with Revelation, but what MaxPax does have is an Observer that actually gives him a free kill. Reynor did manage to take out these rocks. There is a shield battery. The shield battery is low on HP. I mean, Reynor really is being a nuisance, but is being a nuisance good enough? Because I think in the straight-up fight, MaxPax's army is still quite a bit better. Reynor is going to try to get that 6th base. That would obviously be big. He's got a 2nd Spire now as well, so he can start catching up in upgrades, and he's doing a decent job in that. I was wondering, by the way, if MaxPax takes the 5th base, I feel like MaxPax should take the 5th base above Reynor's main, because then you can potentially get a cannon and battery overcharge there too, and that would be amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really see another place that he could reliably expand to, because it's just going to be so open to those link counterattacks. And with an army as slow as Max's, you really cannot afford to be bouncing back and forth trying to take out these little, harassing forces of lings. So I do agree this is probably, interestingly enough, the base for him to take once he is ready to expand again. He's obviously walled off his natural completely after having several Zergling run-bys come through there, so taking the linear 3rd is really not an option unless you're going to try to camp that, and that leaves you exposed on this mixed base at the 9 o'clock. So he's not quite there yet. He's unfortunately forced into a situation where he's got to turtle a little bit harder for a little bit longer, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. As soon as Reynor sees the army moving through on the right side, he's going to move into this mixed base and try to get some damage done here, and I think he's going to be able to do just that, or at least until the recall comes through.
Yeah, big army in the center of the map. How many Vipers does Reynor have? Just 2. Viper's so important. First, weak back lens immediately. MaxPax is just going to go for it, as a lot of the interceptors do get deployed. Gets the Spore, gets the Queen. Lens a good storm, needs to keep the High Templar safe. Reynor right now has 21 Corruptors, but I think with the current set of upgrades, it is not enough to really go for the local maneuver, especially not with Archons underneath.
Yeah, this is a good little fight for MaxPax for sure. Reynor was doing a good job of continuing to transfuse those spores just to keep the detection alive, because MaxPax was explicitly targeting down the Overseers. We did get a significant amount of economic damage here on the left side, but once this recall comes in, the Lurkers will be forced to retreat. And this is, I think, the situation where, interestingly enough, the game becomes scariest for Reynor. He has lost a significant part of the army that he originally had. He knows that the army that MaxPax has is totally capable of rolling over him if the fight is not controlled correctly. And so I think with this Viper Corruptor Cloud, we're going to need to shave off some of these important Stargate units. And yeah, this does feel like the engagement that will decide the rest of the game.
Mothership not that important anymore, because MaxPax, I don't think, is planning on making this game go on for a whole lot longer. +3 air weapons is done, and MaxPax is right where he wants to be. He's on top of a spy, he's on top of a hive, as a couple of Lings are walking into this base. Lings will do okay, but Reynor needs to eventually take on this army, whether he likes it or not. But without any Vipers, without a Parabomb, I just don't see a way. We've got 2 Vipers apparently out on the map, and they are coming all the way from the top right. He built 2 more right before that hive went down, but that first spy went down. One of the Vipers that popped did just get taken out immediately. I mean, MaxPax is Omega all in, up to the point where he's going to have a hard time replacing interceptors, but I still think this army is good enough as long as he doesn't kill all of his own interceptors immediately. Maybe he should just go for the main and then go for the low ground.
Yeah, I think getting some of these important tech structures would be nice as well. Plus, it's just guaranteed damage. You know that nothing is going to be able to stop you from taking out this main base. You're already incredibly all in as MaxPax, so we're obviously not concerned really with defending against any kind of counter harass. We're happy to lose more probes if it means that we preserve the army. He is playing a little bit blind, just losing a lot of his vision, obviously, so just needs to be extremely observant to not get caught off guard here by the Corruptors. Unfortunately, the High Templar are not in position to get the feedback there. You can see that they did move to the right to attempt it, but the Corruptors do get a free carrier, which is a nice start, but we've got a lot of nice moves that are going to be needed to pull this game back. This could be one of them, though, as Reynor does strafe this base and get 2 carriers for relatively cheap.
Massive that he gets those 2 carriers. Massive that he got 1 with the feedback. Excuse me, with the Viper without really getting feedback. 3 Vipers remain. Corrupt count is bloody high. We've got +2 right now. Flight attacks, I guess he already had that earlier, but that's obviously big. Reynor is going to build a few more Hydras. Reynor's got income. MaxPax does not. It really was now or never, and I feel every second that goes by it becomes worse and worse and worse for MaxPax, who had 11 carriers not too long ago. Now he's on 7. He's attacking the debris to get some of his interceptors out. He just needs to go, even if it's painful. We need to drop those storms and need to hope that the Archons can make the difference. It really comes down to the Archons against the Corruptus.
Yeah, the positioning of those High Templar for Max is so important in order to prevent these carriers from being killed too easily. A couple more abducts do go down, which I think is going to guarantee 2 kills from the carriers here. And even though the ground army is starting to get shredded by storms, I do think Reynor just has enough to completely bowl over the rest of this army. And he takes map 1 on Amphion.
MaxPax knows it. Reynor wins on a map that he's not very fond of after killing 109 drones with non-stop circling run-bys. It looked very promising for MaxPax for a bit when he had those +3 carriers, when he was in the natural, when he was in the main. But I feel like he wasted some time there. Reynor found that tiny little abduct. It was a battle. High Templar is indeed going to the right, but the observer died. MaxPax knew that Reynor was there. Reynor knew that MaxPax knew, and Reynor still found that carrier, and then found the 2 additional carriers at the base underneath the main of Max. And like 3 carriers more or less obviously makes a very big difference in a game where no one has any, or at least MaxPax has no income anymore. Close game. Felt that it could have gone MaxPax's way, but Reynor just getting the best of him with non-stop circling run-bys.
I think that was very well played, and I think this is one of the things that a lot of, if I were to guess, ladder Zergs struggle with, is kind of knowing when you are supposed to just commit to the engagement and when you are supposed to sort of sacrifice to the Skytoss army while you are attempting to mount a defense. I think this was excellently played by Reynor. He showed an exceptional level of confidence and patience to understand what he could afford to lose, what he could afford to let go of, and just taking value where he could find it. You know, this defense did not happen at the end. By the time that the final engagement started, the game was already Reynor favored, but he slowly just chipped away at that army, got the abducts when he could, shaved off the vision by denying observers, just ensuring that by the... Yes, for all of these things sort of add up to make that last defense look as convincing as it did. Normally, engagements with that Skytoss army don't look like that. But it just ended up that way because Reynor was able to find these little advantages earlier in the game.
Yeah, and that's not exactly a map that normally screams run-bys, especially not if MaxPax mines out these minerals. It was supposed to be so difficult for those Zerglings of Reynor to shine, but if you try and try again, eventually you will succeed. A beautiful job by Reynor. Not an easy game to win at all. Max had a strong start. Max had a fun idea as a follow-up. But Reynor just kept on finding damage and eventually bought enough time for himself. Insanely impressive victory. Game 2 gets played on Crimson Court. Obviously, MaxPax picked Game 1. Reynor now gets to pick Game 2. They did their vetoes before we started the Grand Finals. On Crimson Court, it's funny because in the late game, a lot of Zergs say that this is a horrible map and it's almost unwinnable. But the whole idea is never let them get to the late game. You just kill them by taking the Rich Vespian Geyser. Have a few more roaches, banelings, ravages, whatever that you're supposed to have. And it's that simple. Is it that simple, Bully?
It's that simple when they play against me, that's for sure.
Or me. They have so much, man.
But then again, what's not simple when you're playing against me?
Let me think. Winning a PvP, mate. Max couldn't do it. Not MaxPax, so? Guys. Not MaxPax. The other Max. The Max that we had earlier.
That's true. Well, he did win on this map, so maybe it's something about Crimson Court.
We're about to find out. In the bottom left side, we're looking at the main base of the man who has not won the weekly in a little while. Had a promising start, but if I have noticed one thing is that this man doesn't really give up in series. He can be down 0-2 and he can still turn things around. He's done that on quite a few Monday nights against Clem. So losing Amphion sucks, but I can guarantee you guys that he's still here with us, willing to fight. Storm Gaming's MaxPax. Look at that boy.
Ooh, in the top right, going for a cheeky early spawning pool. It's a man who once told me it's impossible to be too drunk in a foreign country. It is Reynor.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, about the time I was trying to force him into a taxi.
I love Reynor in Korea, guys. One day Reynor is going to write a book about his adventures in Korea. And I'm sure that you had so much fun with him. But I wasn't even there, Bully. And one of the nights I get a message at 4 a.m. on my Discord. Actually, no, it was like 11 p.m. for me. This is like 5, 6 a.m. in Korea. And he's like, yo, where you at? I'm like, well, at home, mate, in Zuidland. What the fuck you talking about, where you at? He's like, oh shit, wrong conversation. That's like, man, such a baboon. Reynor goes... Sorry, guys. But yeah, Reynor goes for the hatchery on the other side of the map. This is the same build that he tried to do against Hero in the GSO code as on Ghost River. That didn't quite work out. MaxPax is aware of the fact there is a tiny gap here. He is apparently willing to leave that so he can dance around a little bit with the Zealot. Hero defended this beautifully, I think back then on Ghost River. I have the feeling that MaxPax should not struggle with this too much either, but let's see.
Yeah, this is always a tense situation. You also never really know if the Zerg is just going to cancel this hatch to allow the Lings through, but MaxPax, I think, is obviously hedging against that possibility with the positioning of the probes and the Zealot here. He does have a second Zealot that's about to pop out, so there really shouldn't be too much that Reynor can get done here, honestly. You're just trying to keep MaxPax honest, make sure that he doesn't try to defend this a little too greedily. He's forced to spend a couple of chronos on Zealots and Adepts, so not as economically ahead as he might hope to be against an early pool. But this is a dangerous situation for Reynor because you're always scared of a situation where maybe a few more gateway units than you're used to are going across the map to do something like cancel a third. He does get a decent surround on these Zealots, but the DPS with the Adept and the Zealots is just so high that these Lings are really not going to do much. And I'm not sure, honestly, that I love the position that Reynor has gotten himself into here.
I don't think he loves it, mate. I mean, sure, he's got a hatchery, which is fun. You know that you're going to delay the expand of your opponent for a little while, but we are now looking at a MaxPax that is enjoying a 6 to 8 worker lead. It's got Adept shading to the other side of the map. Reynor is not going to have Zergling speed forever. And I think back of one of my other favorite foreign protoss of all time, Neep. Whenever Neep was in these kind of situations, it just felt that his Adepts would stick around for days. They would kite those Zerglings for days. I mean, Reynor is doing his best Kaiji impression here, where he's just like drones, units, and try to distract. And that does work incredibly well against lesser protosses. I have a hard time believing that this is going to get the job done against MaxPax, who just, in my eyes, has defended this as close to perfect as possible. He has killed 25 Lings, even got the Queen before the Creep Tumor went down. And good luck to Reynor dealing with these Adepts with slow Zerglings, Bully.
Yeah, this is not good. He's obviously just going to micro against these Lings, and even if these eventually die, you're taking out so many Lings, but really you should be thinking of each set of 2 Lings here as a drone that never existed, right? And so when you're playing this game with 16 drones total, as Reynor finally getting up to 18, it's just incredibly uncomfortable. I mean, with the amount of running around these drones are having to doing with the low drone count, I'd forgive you if you thought this was a J Money replay, but it's unfortunately Reynor.
He wishes, mate. J Money on 21 drones in minute 4. You're giving him a lot of credit.
Yeah, he's never seen the mineral number go that high.
MaxPax says, all right, sure, you defended the first 2 Adepts, but how about the next 5? And guys, Reynor is still gasless. All that Reynor has are slow Zerglings. Does manage to kill another Adept, and I'm honestly like somewhat impressed with how Reynor has done this, but make no mistake, I think Reynor is not just that, I think Reynor is omega that. MaxPax is gonna hit him with resonating glaives in the near future, is enjoying a 9, 10, 11 worker lead. These drones have done more running around and battling than they've done mining, and that works for some at 4,700 MMR and a server. That should never ever work for Reynor against MaxPax.
Yeah, this is never going to work out, and he knows that. GG's with 16 workers total. It just was it was not there on this map.
Now, Reynor has a Discord, guys. It is basically well, it's not totally a sub-only Discord. It is a public Discord that all of you guys can join. If you go to Reynor's Twitch channel, you do !Discord. That should give you a link. But he's very active in the sub part of his Discord. So it's partly open, partly sub. And he very often, even in big tournaments, smaller tournaments, all taps in the middle, and he'll write something in his Discord. I'm pretty certain that at this point he wrote something like, just having some fun, trying something out. All right, fine. solid defense. Let's go back to serious mode now, like something like that. Because Reynor always gives little updates to his sub Discord, and I have a hard time believing that this is a build we'll see from Reynor if he is 1-1 against Classic or Australia in the Esports World Cup. This stuff just does not work against the very best. It works against lesser Protosses. It does not work against the very best.
Yeah, you're obviously hoping that your opponent, I think, misplays a little bit there. That's sort of the only way that you're going to get value. And MaxPax is not a player that I would put my money on to be screwing those up relatively often. But Crimson Court is sort of the map where if a Zerg was going to try something relatively cheeky, that's where you would do it. That's where you would do it for sure.
Yeah. Well, that does mean that we are now back on a map that is slightly Protoss favored. Now, of course, if MaxPax plays against any other Zerg in Europe that's not called Reynor or Serral, he's going to look amazing on every map. If Reynor plays against any Protoss in Europe that is not MaxPax, perhaps Showtime, who's also an excellent CVP player, he's always going to look amazing. But on this level, since I do think that these two are a very good match for each other, yeah, the maps, the strength of the race on the respective maps, it does matter, and it can really make the difference. So, we're even. Reynor won on the map of MaxPax. MaxPax won on the map of Reynor. The best of 5 became a best of 3. Now, that's sarcastic cliche, mate. In the bottom right side, as we're all tied up, Storm Gaming's MaxPax.
And in the top left, the blue Zerg player. Feeling a little sad after that last one, if I were to guess. It is Basilisk's Reynor.
That is not shade, Dexter Jackster. That is a compliment. NA knows what they are, and they are proud of it, mate. You have to be true to yourself. And if NA server is just a little different than the European and the Asian server, let it be. To be fair, Asian server is very cheesy too, man. These guys all in non-stop.
It's just, yeah, the Asian server these days is just the same 12 guys cheesing each other over and over.
And they're really good at it.
Plus Gemini posting screenshots of him getting cheesed in all things Protoss going, man, this is such horse shit.
Yeah, when I lived in Los Angeles, I did play a decent amount of games on Korea. It was so funny, right? Because like you're 6K on an A, and then people are like, can you get GM on Korea? I was like, yes. I'm playing against people that are cheesing like they're high diamond NA Protosses. Yes, I can get GM on Korea. And that's all that was happening. And then people were like, you want to play Korea today? I was like, actually, no. Like, I actually got better games on NA back then than I got on the Korean server. Now, obviously, I wasn't playing against Maru and Sue, but I was like, man, these low 5K to mid 5K players on Korea, if you guys think NA is bad, whew, Korea... Like, those guys don't believe in Tier 3, man. They're playing Stormgate right now. They're like, we don't need Tier 3. It's all about Tier 1 and Tier 2, baby.
It's a special place, to say the least. That is for sure. Yeah, there are some people who are kind of operating in that, 2010, 2011 mentality, that's where all the true gamers, the true operators hang out. But that has not been the case for quite some time.
Absolutely. Another Stargate coming out of MaxPax. MaxPax obviously is known for Stargates. So a lot of Protoss players do it in this matchup. You very rarely see him go straight Twilight. He did it last game, but that was a very unique game because of the hatch block. It's more about the follow-ups, and it's more about the number of Oracles that MaxPax makes, because we know that he can go Oracles into Blink Stalkers with +1. Once in a while, you're going to see him go Oracles into Zealots with +1. And of course, you're always capable of going Oracles into Resonating Glaive Adept and trying to catch the Zerg when they're not totally ready yet. He once more went for a very early probe, by the way, to the other side of the map to block Reynor from taking his natural. Cancels the shade here. That means that he's going to lose his Adept. He just really wants to get a drone. Reynor does not want to give him that drone. I mean, this Adept is dead right now. It is a great save, but it's also, we can look at this Adept and say it did nothing. Because that's still 3 drones morphing into spores. You're going to lose that money. That is already adding up to 1 drone. And obviously those 3 drones were not mining. But overall, very sexy defense by Reynor.
I think that was a little bit of a inspiration from Hero Marine. You know, it was just for the show, just to prove that he could. These are going to get in, actually, and get a nice little scout. Not probably going to show him anything that he wasn't already expecting to see, obviously. I mean, this is about as standard an opening as Max as you're ever going to get. But just to be a little bit annoying, keep him honest on a probe micro, eat up a little bit of that Oracle energy. Certainly a little bit of value there for Reynor.
Yeah, it's always nice. It's nice to just keep those Oracles at home, because as long as these Oracles are at home, they're not gunning down any drones on the other side of the map. And MaxPax obviously is nothing short of spectacular in the first 6 minutes of this matchup. It is fun to see him play PVZs rather from his point of view against the very best Zergs in the world, because then suddenly we get to see a whole different skill set coming out of him, different follow-ups as well. Because I don't want to mention any other players, but it just feels whenever MaxPax does not play against a Zerg that is Reynor, Serral, Dark or Solar, it often just feels that the games are over at minute 6, man. Like, he's killed 17 drones with Adepts and Oracles, and it's like, well, you know, we can talk about ZVP, PVZ all we want, but this game is done and dusted. Against Reynor, he's finding damage. 4 drones here, forced a lot of drones to morph into Spore Crawlers, but these games are far from over at minute 6, and that makes them really fun.
Yeah, I think MaxPax is to Zergs in the first 6 minutes as maybe Hero Marine is to Protoss in the first 7. He just has an extremely tight understanding of what he needs to be doing. And as I say that, he's about to lose a lot of probes just to some random lings that are running by with no battery. This is a little bit painful.
Yep, and walks in a Stalker, by the way. That Stalker is not going to do anything. This is not a fight that he's winning yet, so in the end he's forced to recall. MaxPax doesn't just lose those 4 workers, he's going to lose the Stalker, make it 5 probes, probably 6, if not even 7. Oh, Max, mate, what is this? Maybe he got a tiny bit unfortunate there that the recall... I mean, he could have walked home, mate. Walking home would have almost been quicker than recalling all those units back. The 2 Oracles that he still had tucked in that corner. That now, by the way, can't really go anywhere because he just used recall. Ah, that was painful, man. Like, if he has a single Adept and a battery there is no biggie, right? And he can just focus on his attack, he can focus on his move out. But this was painful.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. I think that what happened there is that this Nexus barely did not have energy for the recall when he wanted to use it, and so he was forced to recall into the main, by which point it almost didn't even matter. I mean, the damage had been done at that point, and I think the reason he's not having a battery there is that he's hoping that the combination of the Oracles being active enough can just keep an eye on things well enough so that he doesn't get caught off guard by those kind of run-bys, but when it doesn't work out, that's what it looks like. You lose a lot of probes that you otherwise honestly didn't need to. And an early game that was going reasonably well for MaxPax, not great, but reasonable. Suddenly, I think he would be remiss if he didn't feel a little on the back foot here.
Yep, I'd be very unhappy if I was him. You just don't want to lose workers like that. Like, if you lose a battery or a pilot, it's like whatever, but losing probes like that sucks. As I mentioned, those Oracles really are kind of stuck. MaxPax absolutely does not want to lose them. We're now 7 minutes into the game, and MaxPax has not seen a single thing yet that costs gas. Now, what could that possibly mean? I feel like he should know. I think he does know, as we are getting a couple of cannons. 1 cannon and battery at the 4th, 1 cannon and battery at the 3rd. And he's going to try to put on low pressure with double forge. Reynor at the moment has 72 Zerglings. Reynor can walk into a stasis trap, take a bad fight, and he's still going to have more than enough links. And he still has money in the bank, by the way, as well. Queens might walk into the stasis trap. You know, it would actually be kind of cute. But it's so many Zerglings on the side of Reynor. MaxPax is second. Recall. Oh my god, they just used recall.
Oh,
the man just used recall on the Oracles in the top left side as he blinks into the middle of nowhere. And those 72 Zerglings of Reynor are having a field day. What a disaster game. And bully, this is not 5 Mutas. It's not 8 Mutas. It is 17 Mutalisk at once in an 8-minute game. Reynor is picking MaxPax apart here in game 3.
Yeah, this is an absolute slaughter. I mean, losing that many Stalkers is so expensive, and now he's in sort of a catch-22 situation where he cannot afford to not start producing Phoenix to contend with these Mutas, but he simultaneously cannot afford to not invest in the ground army to meet these lings. It's totally over. The Mutas, honestly, were not even necessary. They were just a little bit of insurance for the lings, which were running over the rest of the ground army.
Yep, after 8 minutes and 45 seconds, it is Reynor who wins another ZVP today, where he killed way more units than he lost, and that is not a given in this matchup. If anything, that is supposed to be incredibly rare. And that was a nightmare game for MaxPax, and it is really funny, that snowball effect that we talk about so often in StarCraft 2. And this game, I think, was a perfect display of it. Reynor shows up with, what was that, 16 Zerglings, 14 Zerglings, on a base without a battery. MaxPax handles it poorly, starts falling behind, is forced to recall, so his fourth attack, or the attack on the fourth with the Adepts and the Oracles, does not work. He had to use recall, starts falling behind. The 2 other Oracles are still stuck. He can't recall them out because he already had recall, so he needs to wait until recall is available. When it's finally available to bring those 2 Oracles back, the Stalkers get surrounded and he can't recall those, and that all goes back to that very first Zergling counter. I mean, Reynor is playing incredibly well, incredibly sharp, as even MaxPax seems to have a hard time keeping up with the Italian Stallion at the moment.
I'm sure he's not alone in feeling that way. That is for sure. But I think you certainly are a long way from counting him out in this series. Even on match point, he's got plenty that he could pull out to reel this one back. In the top right, the red Protoss player, MaxPax.
Oh, what a painful moment, hey. You recall those Oracles, and on that moment he blinks, and the 14 Stalkers get surrounded by the 70-something Zerglings of this man who was even banking resources. That wasn't even a moment where he was looking for a game-ending fight. That was just an opportunity that presented itself, and any opportunity that gets presented to this man, he's going to capitalize on it when he's in this shape. I hope that he can keep this up, not just for the Esports World Cup, but also for the final weekend, guys, of this month, because the absolute last weekend of the month of August, we will have the WTL Code S playoffs, and hopefully Basilisk can finally win it all. Up to 1 here in the grand finals, 1 map away from winning the weekly, 3 weeks in a row, for the second time in his career. It's Reynor.
I think that would cap off a pretty good summer for the kid to maybe put in a good performance at the Esports World Cup and then turn it around into a gold medal for Basilisk in the WTL. Maybe having a little bit of a Thanos arc here. You're just trying to collect all the medals, right? You don't get the gold right away. You just snag a silver, snag a bronze, and then cap it all off by winning it all. Why not?
Let's go back to back. Instead of in the weekly, we'll do it in the desert and then online in the good old WTL Codex. You know, we already have that bronze medal. We've got the silver medal. There's only one missing, and we're guaranteed a medal. So let it be the one that we don't have yet.
It's looking like maybe we're returning to the roots here. I think for both players playing it's a little bit normally. Alcyone, I think, is a map that Reynor actually does tend to enjoy. I think this is a map that he feels is maybe slightly advantageous for Zerg in a lot of situations, or at least that's what he's indicated to me when I've talked to him about this map. I think the golds are nice for the Zerg here. Generally speaking, no map features are too abusable here for his opponent, but as I say that, it is Twilight first instead of Stargate here for Max, which means that we might be seeing a little bit of a deviation earlier in this map than I thought.
Did they host the wrong version where there is no way through the side blockers, or what?
Believe me, Reynor would definitely double check about that, because he is an absolute hawk about making sure that the ESL version gets hosted, because he's so annoyed by that one hex where probes can sit and not get attacked by Zerglings unless you have air vision.
You're a big fan of the Hawk today, huh? This is the Hawk 2, mate.
You know, I don't know what it is. I'll be honest with you.
I don't believe that.
I don't know what it is. It's I definitely don't think it's Hawk Tua related, but you know, maybe subconsciously the internet has just infected my brain with so many worms that it's unavoidable.
All right, 4 gateways, Resident Enclave Adept. MaxPax only has 2 workers on each gas right now, and that's giving us a strong indicator that he's not looking at a very quick Dark Shrine. Could obviously drop it a little bit later. Reynor is going to be forced to play a different game where it's not all about keeping queens in the right locations. I have seen some Korean Protoss players in the past find some success with this stuff against Reynor, because obviously a nightmare for Zerg in general is having to deal with all these adepts in your face on the edge of creep. War Prism splits off, goes into the main, but then you're so busy defending that even the best Zergs in the world often have a hard time figuring out what's happening on the other side of the map. Is there a third base? Are there a lot of workers? And then Protoss players can even go for fake transfers. Are they willing to properly transition out of this? Or is it just 2 Immortals, a couple sentries, and 24 additional adepts the way that Skillis went on side Delta against Reynor. And Skillis got obviously so close to getting him.
Yeah, it's a little difficult maybe to know exactly kind of what version of this you're going up against because there are a lot of variations, and this is sort of exactly what I'm talking about. A quick Robo Bay, which is absolutely not what you would expect here from most players, but perhaps that's why MaxPax is not most players. He's going to shade into the natural and up the main ramp, see no drones at the natural, and just cancel that shade as the units were on top of it. But Reynor does get about as good a timing of a scout as you could ask for, and sees that robotics bay as it's about halfway finished. So this should give him the heads up that we are not going to be facing the standard follow-up from this Glaives timing that MaxPax has put together here.
So are we thinking like the old school zone tactic? As we do have our first disruptor. Wait, is it like a couple of disruptors then into Colossus?
Disruptor drop, I think, is going to be the play. He's going to use disruptors with a speed prism to try to maybe bait these roaches or queens into disadvantageous positions and then take a good trade against them would be my guess. But that's obviously quite risky, especially when you're only taking your third base at about 540 here. You're really relying on kind of getting good disruptor shots to allow you to move into the next phase of the game, because while this tech is maybe a little unexpected, you do need it to get good value, because there's a reason that it's not standard, and that's because as the tech for the Zerg progresses, disruptors are really not going to be the tech that's going to allow you to do something like fight reliably against lurkers, for example.
Or a Spire in this case. But
or a Spire.
Does fire up Blink already. As long as MaxPax gets an early scout on the Spire, I don't think this needs to be bad. Because obviously Reynor's Lair is always a little bit later when you go up against 4-gauge Resident Enclave Adept, because as a Zerg you need to get a lot of drones out, they need a lot of units. And that means that these roaches are going to be slow for a while. I do love this, by the way, Reynor realizing that MaxPax has nothing that shoots up with all these Adepts and soon to disrupt this. So it is still going to be slow roaches. The first ball, a little bit eager there. Very, very early, as it does completely whiff, but MaxPax has potential. Second ball, oh, that's a good one. That's -5 roaches, and I almost feel that Reynor could be in trouble immediately. Like right now, the roach is strong enough to fight. Couple of the Stalkers do get warped in as well, as the Adept Shade finishes up deep into the middle line, and we've got a bunch of Queens and a lot of Zerglings in the mix here.
Yeah, he doesn't get a lot of drones here before all these Adepts die, so that's overall good for Reynor, but we do need to be careful that we don't obviously take too much damage here. And MaxPax has scouted the Spire. Obviously, his ability to really do anything about that is quite limited for a while, since we don't have Blink. Ooh, but if we do something like that, like get 12 drones without losing any units here, that's certainly going to make the next phase of this game a little bit more comfortable. As you can see, Reynor does not really have the resources to make a massive wave of mutas here. We've been committing enough to the defense of this, Adept Disruptor tech that we're not hitting like a massive 12 muta, wave here. So does need to be quite careful.
Battery overcharged. I'm surprised we haven't seen it yet. I guess there is just no energy on any of the three next. One Stalker forced to move back immediately, and that opens the doors, but MaxPax does have those cannons, so I guess he's not mega worried. This would be a good moment to pick up those disruptors. You really can't afford to lose too many probes here, because MaxPax is already a bunch of workers behind. With the style that he's been playing, he just does not have a massive economy. And Reynor is not just in the main or natural. That Nova is good enough for the triple kill. Still though, 15 probes falling. Reynor now enjoying a 24 worker lead. And there are those first 9 Basilisk on the way. Now Reynor of course is aware of the fact that MaxPax knows, as the Warp Prism was here. Yeah, will the mutas make the difference? Reynor has said a few times that he thinks the Spire is bait. It's a little bit sloppy on the side of Max, that he just sends an observer so deep into this 3-base setup, losing it, especially if he's planning an attack. Like, observers are important.
It's I think this is actually the single thing that MaxPax can attempt to do here is try to make this push. He does have a Colossus, which when there's only sort of Roach Lingbane tech that's on this side of the map at least is still quite scary. But as the Mutas come back to take out the Prism here, this will make the defense a little bit easier, I think, for Reynor. He does have to pay for that with a couple of Mutas, but I think you're happy to do that just to prevent this push from spiraling out of control.
Yeah, but it's already spiraling out of control because that Purification Nova MaxPax sent forward was humongous. It landed on like 5 queens. A couple of queens died immediately. The other queens took a lot of damage as he's now trying to pick up the reinforcements, but the Stalker count is actually really high. We've got +1. Don't forget that MaxPax still has Adepts with Resonating Glaives, so he could always warp in a couple of Adepts to deal with the Zerglings. This is really starting to look like Game 5, even though I did not love a lot of the things about this game for MaxPax. But perhaps Reynor was just a tiny bit too broke to be playing Basilisk here, as he is not going to be able to enjoy this gold base. A single Colossus, no thermal lens. That is definitely on purpose, because MaxPax simply did not have the money for it. But you don't need thermal lens against a couple of Zerglings. This one Colossus should make it so difficult for all these Lings to get on top of this army. Reynor's still going to go for it. That Nova's not bad, even if it connects with Protoss units for a bit. And so many Zerglings have disappeared by the time this Colossus finally went down. I think we are going to Game 5, just like it was a Game 5 2 weeks ago.
Just an absolutely bizarre game, I think, for both players. I would not be surprised if Reynor kind of is walking away from this one scratching his head a little bit, because this just can't be a situation that he encounters very often. The fast disruptor tech really kind of in a sort of backwards way paying off here. It almost feels like Reynor got baited into this Basilisk tech the way that it has worked out so far. A decision that should have been correct on paper.
You know, if you want to entertain yourself a little bit, take a look at the chat right now. It's like, oh guys, it's just so easy for Zerg to kill the Protoss. Oh, it's another game that got decided because of the Zerg run by. Protoss just can't do it. Meanwhile, we're 2 minutes in the future, and MaxPax is all over Reynor. Stalkers with +1. I see 33 Stalkers. You know what that means. Toot, 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 toot. As War Prism number 2 shows up, and we are going to Game 5. Chat is living in the past. They are moaning. They are crying. Guys, Zerg is so strong. Meanwhile, MaxPax says, Game 5 it is. It's not about balance. When these two go up against each other, you put Clem in there, it does not matter. Of course, a couple of the top tier Koreans. Guys, it does not matter. They can all beat each other on any given day. It's not a balance issue. They can all play at such an exceptional high level, and whoever plays better is going to win. If anything, Protoss might be ever so slightly favored right now over Zerg, but obviously Serral and Reynor and Dark and Solar, those guys will find a way. And StarCraft 2 is a beautiful game, and the better player is going to win like 99% of the time. Don't ruin your fucking own experience by only thinking it ever comes down to balance. It is so stupid. The year is 2024, bully. I can't anymore. How many times do we need to see that there are levels to this game, and that some players are just at the highest level? They're going to Game 5 for the second time in 2 weeks when they play against each other. And it's still apparently about balance, and they're winning on the maps they're not supposed to be winning on. MaxPax wins on Alcyone and Crimson Court. Reynor wins on Amphion and Golden Aura.
Golden Aura.
When can people just lean back and enjoy? When?
Yeah, I don't know. It's certainly, you know, it's fun to rush to judgment and make, you know, big sweeping statements. But I think if I was ever going to use any game that has ever been played in the history of StarCraft 2 to make conclusions about balance, it would not be this particular map, because this situation is really not indicative of what this matchup looks like very often. And certainly when you're going to two back-to-back Game 5s and best of 5s between these players, I think that's a clear indication that there's a lot of wiggle room for players on both sides of the matchup to make things work and make a variety of things work, as we have already seen in this series.
And the games they win are often so close and so competitive.
Yes.
If you saw that Side Delta game 2 weeks ago, I mean, come on, ridiculously close. Looked like it was MaxPax in the end. In front of the gates of hell, somehow Reynor managed to pull through and get the W. We are on Game 5 once more, but this time it's not Side Delta, it is Ghost River. In the top right side, it is the Prince of Denmark trying to stop Reynor from winning 3 weeklies in a row, playing a sexy best of 5 so far. Not even the very best I've ever seen of him, but it's still damn good. It's Psystorm Gaming's MaxPax.
And this man in the top left, the blue Zerg player, hoping that he can close it out once again to go back to back. It is Basilisk's Reynor.
for the second time in his career. I was like, did Reynor ever win 3 weeklies in a row? And I opened that fun page where you can see the beautiful history of this tournament that has been running for 239 weeks in a row. And that may sound like a long time, guys. It's like talking 4+ years at this point that ESL has been doing this. That is just wild. That is crazy. And, you know, if we talk about giving love, kudos, and creds, ESL does really deserve a lot of love for that. Because in the beginning, sure, the brackets were filled and it was hype, but eventually it would have been so easy for them to just stop it. Instead, they gave us 239 editions of Monday Night StarCraft. Well, it started off on a Sunday, but let's just go with Monday Night StarCraft across 3 regions as well. How cool is that?
It feels like just, and I know people say this to me, but it actually does feel like just yesterday that I remember this weekly tournament starting and thinking to myself what a cool idea it was that ESL was kind of getting involved with this. And when you consider that they've given over $100,000 away just in these weeklies per region, it kind of sets in just how much has been devoted to these weekly tournaments. And I would imagine that a lot of people in chat would agree that this is some of their favorite StarCraft content. Obviously, it's a weekly tournament. The stakes in each particular week are relatively low, not a ton of points, not a ton of money. But the fact that you can just reliably tune in on Mondays for, you know, your region's tournament or whatever region it is that you have the time to watch during the day and see, you know, matches of this quality so reliably is pretty exciting. I think it's definitely one of the favorite things that I've seen done on a pro circuit in StarCraft, and I've been around for all of it.
That's so cool as well. There are so many different streamers. Everybody was obviously able to sign up and become a streamer, become a commentator. Throughout history, they have rotated people as well. You know, people that didn't want to do it anymore just didn't show up. They get replaced by other people that are eager. So it's a great chance. Obviously, national casters. We've got Portuguese streamers, Polish streamers. It's really been mega fun. So big shout out to ESL for all of it. Game 5, Bully. Ghost River. 4 gates. Resonating Glaive Adept once more. I am surprised. MaxPax in back-to-back games says, you know what? Oracles are the way. But they're just not the way against this Reynor kid. Reynor, his queen movement is too damn good. He's too sharp. He saves everything. I'm going to switch it up. And I wonder how often... Like, obviously, Reynor is familiar with these builds. But how often do you go up against this stuff when it's being controlled by the likes of MaxPax? There are not many Protoss players on this planet that are going to play this style as well as he does.
Yeah, and I think this is a little different flavor of the Glaives build. He's obviously going up to significantly more gateways than he did last time. It looks like 6 gates in total here. So he's certainly committing to this Glaives pressure much more than he did in the last map. He only had 4 gates on Alcyone, and obviously went for that quick disruptor tech as well, which is, I would imagine, not going to be the play here. You really cannot afford to be getting fast disruptors again on this map with this many gateways unless you are going to go all in, and that is not a comfortable position for him to be in. So we'll see if maybe last map kind of baits Reynor into an underreaction here, because I think we're going to see many more adepts here than we did on Alcyone, and that might catch him off guard.
Not 4, but 6. And with 6, it really does hit a little bit different. Cool play here by MaxPax. These are the kind of plays that people often look for, right? In Game 5 of a tournament, you've played for many hours. Just go ahead and go for it. Send it. Reynor fires up a lair. Bully, I think if he knew this was 6-gate Resonating Glaive Adept, we would not be firing up that lair right now. Sure, if we eventually get the roach... He's building drones as well. Reynor, I think Reynor is misreading this. Reynor needs more units to deal with all these adepts. The adept count is going to be ridiculously high.
Yeah, I think he clearly has misread it. You might be thinking to yourself, I need to make this layer in order to sort of kind of get away with it, but certainly the drones you would not be making here. He does kill this first stalker, but only able to get a couple lings in before he has to turn his attention here to the main base, where he's being shaded in with a significant number of adepts. And we're already getting a couple and forcing lost mining time, but realistically, this army that Reynor has needs to take very good trades if we are going to prevent this 6-gate Glaive Adept pressure from just turning this game completely on its head.
It is not bad so far what Reynor is doing. There is an observer here in their mix. We see an observer in the middle of all these bases. Sport crawler here. That Spore was maybe in case of DTs. We know there are no DTs. There are some Immortals on the way on the other side of the map. Reynor is in trouble, man, because MaxPax is just going to cancel the shade. I don't think Reynor can possibly save this hatchery. The lair is done, but he does not have the resources to fire up roach speed. He does go forward with a couple of roaches, but I feel like this exposes the natural. Am I crazy? Well, it kind of does, but MaxPax does not quite want to go for it. Perhaps MaxPax already happy with what he got. But it is somewhat difficult to transition out of these 6K Resonating Glaive Adept builds. I don't think he should quite slow down yet, and it doesn't seem like he wants to.
Yeah, I think he might actually end up... he does save the Prism from those 3 queens. Reynor did obviously see that with the Overlord that is in the middle of the map there, so very nicely done from him. Yeah, I think MaxPax was maybe anticipating that Reynor was going to pull even more units to that south side to try to save that 3rd hatchery, but Reynor kind of called his bluff there. He did not finish the shade, just canceled and walked away. And so this is sort of a very tenuous armistice that has been reached by these 2 players as they kind of go back, regroup, and decide on what the next move is here. Certainly there's still a lot of potential for MaxPax to get damage with this number of adepts, but it is going to rely on execution, obviously, as Reynor is also looking to maybe get a cancel on this 3rd Nexus here.
Yeah, but Warpins are available because it's not 4K, but it's 6K. Obviously, that fight is going to matter, guys, but we're going to take a little look on the other side of the map because now we've got 2 Immortals in the mix. We've got a Warp Prism. 2 weeks ago, it was Reynor who did manage to eke out a nail-biting victory over MaxPax. I'm starting to feel like more and more this is actually MaxPax his time. Even though it is a base for a base, it's an eye for an eye. These 2 cannot have boring games with each other. I just don't see a way for these 2 Immortals to fall. Even though they were derping there a little bit. That was poor micro by MaxPax, who has now been bleeding out a lot of adepts. But if the micro is solid, shouldn't the Warp Prism and the adepts make the difference? Perhaps that is not the case. I think he has to let the shade finish up. How many drones can he get here? Not a lot. I like the recall to at least save a couple. 44 workers against 42. Supply heavily in favor of Reynor. But I think it's a tiny bit deceiving because can Reynor attack off creep into a Warp Prism double Immortal? I have a hard time believing that's the case.
Yeah, this Prism with the 2 Immortals just does keep Reynor honest here, as he can't really afford to be too aggressive. He is going to use this sort of attaché of roaches to move across the map and try to get some damage here, recognizing that there's not going to be a particularly durable army here. I think some of the value of this move is just to sort of keep MaxPax from dedicating all of his attention across the map. These 2 Immortals also can get exceptional trades against just roaches. Lings typically are what makes this micro a little bit more complicated, as you are guaranteed to take some kind of damage from Lings if they're right under that prism, so you can't abuse the Immortal Barrier as much. Almost flies into a few queens here, but he does pay attention enough just to turn it around before it does take any hull damage. And this is sort of another bit of uncomfortable territory for both players, as I think Reynor knows that if he can simply get sort of the macro pieces that he would like to have at this point, maybe stabilize on a 3rd hatch, get a sizable enough army that he can go across and contest MaxPax, then it is okay. And similarly, Reynor knows that he's kind of got to scrape out a little bit of value with this Prism in order to keep the Zerg from running over this 3rd base again. Just keep Reynor on the back foot for a little bit longer so that we can finish charge, finish our 3rd base, get that Templar Archives. But when both players are under 50 workers at the 10-minute mark, you know that they've been just throwing haymakers left, right, and center.
MaxPax fires up the first Immortal. That Disruptor Bay, or the Robo Bay, has been done for a little while. He hasn't quite used it yet. Reynor is dropping a Baning Nest, so he's looking maybe for a couple of Banes. Force Wheel's going to go down on the left side. I don't believe that Reynor's army can currently go up that ramp and attack into 5 Immortals. The supply heavily in favor of Reynor, but I still think it's a little bit deceiving because a Warp Prism with 5 Immortals and Disruptors just has crazy potential. And as a Zerg, you can't make that many Banelings of that relatively ghetto economy that Reynor is working with. But obviously, the longer this game goes on, the more time passes by, the more that Reynor can turn this into a slightly more normal CVP. But I don't think he's happy with this situation. He even fires up roaches with Tunneling Claws and Burrow. That is quite the play, Bully.
Yeah, I mean, just as you were saying that he was maybe trying to turn this into a more normal game, he does the one thing that I think makes this less normal than anything else, which is to maybe dedicate a little bit of his resources to tunneling claws, which if you know that your opponent is maybe sort of desperately cranking out as many immortals and disruptors as possible because he knows that the Roach Ravager army is getting scary, that can sort of work out, because you know that it will not be a healthy, you know, observer count that is doing things like keeping an eye out for run bys, that is hovering over your third base as Roach Ravager armies threaten you, keep you busy, and separate Roach groups move to get drone damage, or probe damage rather. It's risky, I would say.
Yeah, Max needs to be very careful. He's got a powerful army, but obviously if he loses this, he's never ever going to remake this. He's getting more and more Archons. He was dancing on the edge of creep, kind of on creep for a little while without an observer, because he did manage to lose that first observer. He is just looking for that one big Purification Nova, as a couple of Adepts have shaded into the natural. It's just a single one. I think it's mostly to distract Reynor. Nova goes forward, gets a Roach and a couple of Ravages, but this is a lot of Zerg. And Reynor is making full advantage of that little bit of creep that he still had to work with. And I think in the end, maybe Todd was right. The supply does not lie. Even though MaxPax is going to try to micro his heart out, but he leaves before the Zealots even get warped in, because that Warp Prism was going to die. And with that Warp Prism dying, all those Immortals would go down. It is once more Reynor who wins the European Pro Tour Weekly. Back to back bully in once more a pretty wild game 5. Not quite Side Delta wild, but I feel like MaxPax, when he had the 22 Adepts and the 2 Immortals in the Prism, I think he could have taken a much better fight than what he ended up taking. But it seemed like he right-clicked on one of the Roaches, and the Immortal couldn't shoot, so it was doing that stupid crap thing in the back until it would... And you lose so much DPS, right? Because Immortals fire so quickly. I think there was so much potential there for Max.
Yeah, I think a crazy game 5. You're right to say that it's not quite Site Delta, but it's good enough to trick the chat, who I see Mixu right now saying this is hell for the Zerg as usual.
Yeah, but I don't know what that means when Mixu says it. Last time Mixu said that Zerg was on 8 bases maxed out with money in the bank against 3 base discs. So.
With Mixu, that either means that Zerg has been dead for 10 minutes or that a couple Lings died unnecessarily. There's really no way to tell. But I think this is a game that you would be forgiven for thinking looked incredibly bad for Reynor at multiple stages. I mean, I think the defense of that early Glaive Immortal attack was tenuous at best. I mean, it was obviously good enough. It did allow him to get to the sort of next stage of the game. But I think if you were going to ask Reynor, that's certainly not what he was hoping it was going to look like. So he did well, I think, to stabilize himself, get sort of the bare minimum pieces that he needed economy-wise to be able to create the army that would eventually run this over. And yeah, just well played. I think it speaks to what I was talking about earlier, that he just has the discipline and the patience to understand what he needs to let go when it comes to the Protoss knocking at his front door and when he needs to strike.
I kind of find it fun as well to think back of, like, does MaxPax even really need to attack that? Like, it's 3 bases against 3 bases. Sure, Reynor's going up to 4. Reynor has a slightly bigger army, has a few more workers. But MaxPax got Archons, he's got Immortals, he's got Robo Bay, where he already has 1 Disruptor. Like, we're battling Lairtag Zerg without an infestation pit on 50-something drones. Like, do we, as a Protoss, need to be the one attacking into the Zerg?
Yeah, it's hard to know, obviously. I think drawing the line between letting the Zerg get away with too much and not overextending yourself is difficult to draw in these situations where the game has maybe not followed a traditional path. But yeah, I think obviously seeing what we just saw and knowing in retrospect that maybe moving out was not the right play is easy to say now. But in these situations, through the fog of war, both literally and figuratively, it's difficult to know the play.
Yep. All right, guys, that is going to do it. If you guys want to take a little look at the entire record, !B, you guys can choose between the ESL website or the beautiful Liquipedia, as MaxPax lost a single map all the way up to the grand finals, but his walls against Reynor just continue, as Reynor had another strong showing. Obviously, he did drop a couple of maps last week. I believe he won the weekly without dropping a single map against MaxPax, just like 2 weeks ago. He gets the job done 3-2. Reynor's got a very sexy win streak against MaxPax that he really does seem like he wants to protect at all cost. Always a banger though when these two go up against each other. Let me go ahead and see what the prediction said in the end. I know a lot of channel points were wagered bully. Fun games though.
Yeah, very fun games. This is about what I would expect the prediction to look like. Maybe like a 55-45 for Reynor, just taking into account current form. So chat mirroring, I think, what was probably the smart money play here. I think.
Yeah, I think it's very close. I think I would wait until 1 minute is left and see what the bigger payout is. Oh, bully!
which is exactly what I did. Which is exactly what I did. When I bet it was maybe 63-37 MaxPax, and I thought, okay, it's not quite tilted that heavily.
Oh, mate, I don't think the second Korea invite is around the corner.
Oh, I predicted Reynor to win at the start. I was hedging, obviously.
Oh, okay,
okay. If you gave me 50-50, I go Reynor, but 63-37 Reynor is a little bit heavier than I would have taken. That's for sure.
Reynor is asking me if I want an interview, which obviously just means that he wants to do an interview. So
of course,
yeah. Well, let's just invite him. Can I just invite him to this call, or do I have to hang up?
I think you should be able to actually. Let me see here. I think.
DM. Yeah, let's just do it. If he wants to, yep. All right, let's just give him a call. Guys, Reynor is going to join the call.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
It looks like he's maybe trying to connect here.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
I like how you're making it seem like I want the interview. You want the
come
interview.
On, man. Obviously, I don't. When do I ever want to yap? Come on, man.
When you are the one reaching out to me, do I want an interview? And then the backup, do I want an interview on Twitch? Oh, mate, you want that interview so bad. You've never
Sure, I'll take the interview if I have to.
Yeah, you've never wanted an interview more. All right, mate. What is up?
Nothing much. I think very good games today.
Yeah.
I think the only 2 losses were from, well, first, the Crimson. I don't know what I was doing, but didn't work out.
I feel like you've tried that a couple times, and I've never seen it work out.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was kind of hoping, I don't know, I was kind of hoping to get a cheap win or something. I wasn't really feeling like playing another macro game, but it did not work out. So I was aware that I was probably going to lose, but I still shipped it. So I think that's how you have to do it.
Maybe having some flashbacks to the map against Goblin and thinking you didn't want to go through that hell again.
No, I think Crimson is actually like, it was my pick, so it's the best. So like it was a little bit of a failed IQ test because I picked the best map and I just cheese on it. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
Whatever.
One hell of a best of 5 overall, though. Let's just talk a little bit about Game 5, because that is what is most fresh on the mind of most viewers and players. Bizarre Game 5. Not quite as crazy as Side Delta 2 weeks ago, but still a pretty bizarre Game 5. Did you knew it was 6 gates in the beginning? Because I had the feeling you didn't know.
No. I thought it was the same thing as the previous game. So I was trying to cut a couple of corners because I realized that on Alcyon, the reason why I lost is because I didn't drone up fast enough. Like, I saw the Robo Bay, I saw everything, but I just played it way too safe. And
you don't think it was the Muras?
No. I think I would have lost to that attack.
Or maybe it was the Nova that killed 10 drones?
Yeah, that also hurt. But when you have a good setup, like if you see the game, I saw a little bit on the replay, and I had like 50 drones against 50 probes. That's never good. Even before the Nova.
Yeah, so talk about Game 5, sorry, because now we got distracted, started talking about El Cyane.
Yeah, Game 5, I didn't know it was 6 gates, so when I saw it, I was a little bit worried. I think he could have killed me, maybe, if he played better.
Yeah, I think he could have killed you too, with the 22 Adepts and the 2 Immortals. Okay, maybe not like an all-out kill, but I think he could have done really well there.
More damage. He was he's a little bit scared with the Adepts, for sure.
Yeah. And one of his Immortals was not fighting for a while. Go ahead, buddy.
In that situation, if you knew hypothetically that it was 6 gates, are you still trying to squeeze the layer out there and just say
No.
Yeah, you're just fully committing Roachling Queen defense, just absolutely cutting drones, no tech, no nothing.
Yeah. It's 2 gas, like 40 workers maximum, and you just pump out units. No layer. The reason why I went for layer is because I thought it was the same as on Alcyon. And I wanted to get roach speed as fast as possible, because obviously against those disruptor pushes, roach speed is like insane.
Yeah.
So I was trying to do that. But then I realized the 6 gate, and I was like, do I cancel the layer? Do I not cancel it? And I kind of played greedy because I should have canceled it. But I was like, it's 50% on, I might as well go for it.
Do you even towards the very end, like your supply was up, you had a lot of roaches, you were starting to make your way towards Baneling Nest, but you're still playing as a very broke Zerg, right? You barely had 3 bases, 50-something workers, against a 3-base Protoss now as well that has 5 Immortals, a War Prism, a Robo Bay, and Archons. Were you surprised that he's attacking into you there?
A little bit, and I was very happy he was attacking, but I don't... Like, looking back at the game, because I saw a little bit from the end on your stream after the game was over, and he was actually like, he was kind of dead. Because like those kind of spots are not very fun for Toss. Because he has no idea what I'm doing, because he has no scouting possibilities, because he has no oracles, he has nothing. And he's low on probes, his upgrades didn't even start. I had double Evo and tunneling close on the way. I think I would have won regardless. So I think he messed up with the depths.
Yeah, and also he lost. He did this once on, I think it was Golden or Alcyone as well, where he rallied an observer on top of your spore. He had an observer with his first move out that he also lost, so he had to rebuild that. I felt like maybe if he would have kept that original ops alive, and then he could have a slightly better feeling for how much damage he's done, where he's at. And that would help the Protoss so much, right? Like, it seems silly.
I actually saw an ops and I sniped it. I'm not sure if you caught it.
No, I think it was lucky, mate.
No, I saw him siege up between
on which map? On Ghost River?
Ghost River, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and it was in between. You sniped it with a Ravager?
Yeah. No, with the Queens. I morphed an Overseer and sniped
okay. Yeah, fair enough. But okay, cool. Yeah, no, it's very difficult to play, obviously, when you feel like so much bad stuff could be happening. But then if you just kind of compare the armies and the units, you're like, does he?
Yeah, also, because I had an Overseer on top of my head for that reason, because I was like, I really want him to attack me, and I also was kind of playing with my units. I was showing him some units, but a lot of them were hiding, because I felt like if he realized I had too many units, he could just go back and try to play macro game, and then it would be more annoying, because I knew 100% that if he attacks, he's dead. That's why I just jumped on him as soon as he stepped on creep.
So before we talk more about the games, I'll let Bully ask a couple questions. I just went over, I settled that channel point prediction. 58% of my audience believed in you, Reynor. But you know who didn't?
Who didn't?
Bully! 85,000 points on MaxPax.
All right, listen, I'm tired of this.
What the hell?
When I bet, it was like 63%, 37% in your favor, like with more points on you. And I thought, I think this is probably 55-45 in your favor most of the time.
55. The last time I lost to MaxPax. He's very good, but I think I got the edge lately. Like, especially in the macro
I agree.
Games,
Yeah. No, and I actually said that before you got on the call to Kev, that I said, I think if you take into account, the form as of right now, I think it's definitely Reynor favored. But I would say like a 2-1 favorite is slightly over where I would feel comfortable calling it for you. So I was making the smart money play, but just like my real life stock market, shit did not play out.
That's what you get.
Yeah. I don't want to hear it. I'm already getting hosed enough as it is by everyone and their dogs, Intel, Nvidia. I'm sick of it.
That's how it should be.
So how are you feeling, Reynor? We're less than a week out, right? You're flying 6 days, 7 days? What is it?
Yeah, next Monday, exactly 7 days. Okay. Very hyped. I can't wait. I've been on the proper grind. I'm really happy with how I'm playing lately, and I think it's gonna be good. Hopefully, reigning champ, so I have to defend the title.
I love it. Bully, any questions to Reynor?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think I'm excited as everyone is to see what comes of EWC. I feel like you should be feeling relatively confident. I've been watching obviously all the games. I think the form is quite good. I think situations that maybe most Zerg players would struggle with, you seem to be doing quite well with. I think games like Amphion especially kind of indicate that you're playing pretty focused and disciplined. So I'm excited for it, mate. I'm very hyped. Obviously the last time we saw each other, we were doing a lot of prep, so I'm glad to see that all that hard work is paying off.
Yep, exactly. Me and Bully, we started practicing for EWC together in Korea. Back in Korea.
Yep.
I believe it, boys. All right, I'm happy. Anything else you want to share, Reynor?
Not really. Thank you guys for having me for the interview. Hope you enjoyed it. Since you asked, you begged me to do it.
Absolutely. I'm going to show a chat log, mate. That's going to also reveal all the memes you sent to me.
Be careful what you show.
Not all of that is stream friendly.
No, for sure not.
And actually, while we've still got him here, you were talking about Reynor in the middle of the night messaging you, DMing you, mate, where you at, when he was still in Korea.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, he meant to send those messages to me. So
Yeah.
he eventually does send them to me on Discord, and I look at them like at like 6 a.m. after Reynor and I have come home from the club together in the same taxi. And I look at my phone and I go, oh my God, did this guy leave the hotel and go out again? And so I look into the bedroom and see him in there, and I think, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
It was a very realistic dream that I thought I
Yes.
went back to the club. That's what happened. That's what happened.
And in your dreams, you DM me, yo, where you at? Zuidland, baby. Not quite
Yeah.
Seoul, but Zuidland.
That also happened, but in my dreams, obviously.
Of course.
All right. Great night, boys. Reynor, congrats. Second time ever, mate, that you've won 3 weeklies in a row. Do you even remember the first time you did it?
Absolutely not.
No. Week 11, 12, and 13.
Oh, really? Wow, that was a while ago, actually.
4 years ago.
4 years ago. So Peak Reynor
Oof.
is back. Obviously, you don't play the weekly mega often, but there's definitely been times where you played it a couple
I would
weeks
like to
in a
see
row.
my win rate on the weeklies because I feel like it's fairly high. when I
I
play.
remember a Christiana victory with a McDonald's after party.
I'm not saying it's 100%. Sometimes it did happen. The occasional Christian W. But
Of course.
Yeah, a couple claymores here and there, but obviously you've got a good record. But I mean, we could look at, like, we can already see the amount of bronze and silver medals that you had. If you're very curious, I can look that up very quickly. But it's not gonna be like 70% or something. I know that's what
I'm
you're
not
dreaming
that
of.
curious. No, it's fine. Even like a solid 50% would be good, I think.
You're not 50%,
Yeah.
mate. You're not.
You think so? What
Yeah.
the hell? I think so.
No. I can
Are we betting on
guarantee
this?
Yeah.
One beer?
One
One
beer?
beer.
Where?
Yeah.
Mate, like, I see nothing but second and third places, mate.
What? When?
You've got more second place finishes than Sue over here.
What if we don't count the losses to Clem?
Yeah, okay, then I'm sure you've got an amazing record. All right, so
The
it
kid
says
doesn't
you have
count.
21 gold medals, 17 silver medals, but then if I take a look in the semi-final column, you should be there at least 1, 2, 3. So it's gonna be a bit below, a bit below 50%. And obviously, that was the occasional round of 16 exit.
What? I don't remember. I don't remember that.
No, it's good, man. I think it's between 40 and 50%. So that's obviously very solid, but not quite over
I'll take
50.
it. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Did
It's better
Reynor
than Jonas' record. My boy
what
has 0%.
Yona?
No, he
No,
won.
no,
I
he's
think.
got 33.
Really?
Yeah.
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 I thought he played once and he lost to MaxPax. Isn't
No.
that how-
He played 3 times. First time he ever played is after he lost to Clem in the regionals. You remember that? And then he
Mhm.
won. And then he did that again. The next time he lost to Clem in the regionals, and then he did not win. And then he played one more time and he didn't win either, as he lost to MaxPax. So he played 3 times.
Still better record than Jonas.
Yeah, I think
That's
you're
how that's
probably
taken.
above 33%.
I'll take it.
But I mean, I could dive really deep into those round of 16 exits.
Let's not do that. Let's leave it at 50%. I like it.
All right, champ. We'll see you in Saudi.
Yeah. See you soon, Kev. See
Anything
you,
you
buddy.
want to promote, shout out?
Just shout out to Basilisk as always. Shout out to Red Bull and shout out to my Discord, the Reynords. Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Have a good night,
We
boys.
promoted the Reynors. You might have a few new people join, but they do need to be a sub to a guy that literally never streams. Honestly.
Oh, come on, man. Fuck you. You're not even sub to me. I had to gift you a sub.
Mate, I'm in depth. What can I do?
Unbelievable. I'm over here. I have like a 50-month streak on your stream and I'm gifting subs left and right. This guy can't even sub to me.
Let's take a
Unbelievable.
look. Yeah, mate, if you would stream, I would sub, but you don't stream. You're
It's for the content, man.
Which
It's
content?
just like Gabe.
The
It's
black-
the Discord content.
Okay. Well, after Saudi, mate, once you start streaming, I don't care what you stream. I'll be there. But you do need to stream. I'm not gonna sub to a guy that doesn't stream. Come on.
Come on, man. You don't want to be in the Discord where J Money yaps all day?
No, it's a really big positive that I'm not there.
He already owns the server where that happens.
Yeah. Giving me nightmares. All right. Good night, guys. It was a lot of fun. Bully,
Adios.
I appreciate you, mate. Thanks for all the great commentary. Any shout outs for you?
Just want to shout out the All Things Pro Us Team League one more time. On the 10th and 11th of this month, so this coming weekend, we've got the decider matches for the top 6. Going to be very fun. Going to cast that on Gemini's stream with him. So if people follow Gemini's Twitch, we'll be there live this weekend. Very happy with this league. We've got a ton of money, like $1,200 to give away for the top finishing teams. So very excited about that. I hope people check that out.
Post the link by the time you start talking about this, okay? Because we have the stupid 2-minute delay.
Yep, of course, we'll do.
All right. Thank you, Bully. Thank you, Reynor. Enjoy the back-to-back, mate. Well done. And I'll see you in Saudi.
Yeah, see you soon. Bye, boys. Good night.
Adios.
Good night, yappers. All right. What a bunch of yappers, guys. But that was fun. Great weekly. Great content. Fantastic games. I am happy. I hope that you guys are happy. I'm done. I'm tired. I think most people left, but it's all good. Actually, still have some people. It's not too bad. Yeah, I am tired. I did 4 hours of Stormgate this morning. Now 5 hours and a little bit of StarCraft. This is all I got. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. I got a couple follows. We got a couple subs, couple gifted subs. Akri is back. Athena is giving out love. What else do we have? Couple primes here and there. I'll take it. Much love, guys. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and host someone. We obviously have a 2-minute delay, so I'm just going to end the stream here. And then I've got 2 minutes to figure out who I'm going to host. Planned for tomorrow is probably very early stream. A little bit of Stormgate, I think. And then actually I have to do something with The Voice online. And then I think I'm going to go to the beach because tomorrow is very warm. It's going to be like 30 degrees, which is a lot in the Netherlands. So probably you guys can only see me in give or take 12, 13 hours. And then I think I take the rest of the Tuesday off because I have to do matchmaking as well for the big brain bouts. And that always takes a long time. So only a morning stream tomorrow. We'll be back on Wednesday with more. If you guys can make it to the very early morning European stream. Bye-bye. Peace.